Thank you for listening to the Revealed Podcast. I'm your host, Angie Durham. We're recording in our studio located in Thomasville, Georgia. We hope this story you will hear today will encourage you and help you find hope. Iris Brimm is my guest today. Iris, tell us how old you are.
I'm 19 years old.
Okay. And where do you live?
I live in Cairo, Georgia.
And what do you do?
I'm a student at University of West Georgia right now.
Have you been home for a little while?
Yeah, I've been home for a while in quarantine.
Yes. What's that been like being back at home?
It's weird after going off to school and having freedom and just being able to do what you want and then coming home and having to stay inside for a long time. It's really weird.
Yeah. And are you guys supposed to start back in the fall?
Yes, we are supposed to be starting back in the fall.
Wonderful. So what are you doing the rest of the summer?
I've been looking at jobs, but it's really hard to get jobs right now. So I'm just completing, I'm doing a summer course and getting 2 classes out of the way.
Awesome. Well, good. All right. So one thing that I do when I have guests in the studio is I like to ask them just random questions. And I have a box of random questions that sometimes my family will pull out when we're having dinner and we just need conversation. And so here is your random question, Iris. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
All right. What is your proudest accomplishment?
I think my proudest accomplishment is just graduating high school and getting into college and having a year already completed in high school and being able to be an honor graduate. I think that's one of my biggest accomplishments, and I'm just really proud of myself for getting through all that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I was working 2 jobs, a full-time dancer, full-time cheerleader, was in and out of band, and a college student. So I'm happy I was able to get everything completed.
Absolutely. Now, I got to see you dance, and let me just tell you guys, she is an incredible dancer.
Thank you.
And I think I've seen you cheer, too. I think I've been to a Cairo game or 2. One of the kind of interesting things about Cairo is your mascot. So tell me a little bit about the Cairo High School mascot.
We're the syrup makers. Yeah, I love my mascot. Everyone at my college thinks it's so weird, but I love it so much. I love that I get to say I'm a syrup maker.
I remember going to one of the football games, and there were young men wearing overalls, and they were called the Syrup Boys.
Yeah.
And they would stir the syrup throughout the football game.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, we're real country.
Yeah. I love that. So what was it like growing up in Cairo?
It was very simple, very country, very just, you can go out in your backyard and not worry, go out in the neighborhood. And, now that I'm in the city, it's so different, from how I was raised. But I love being raised in the country. And I always say, when I do have children, I want to let them grow up in the country because it's so much fun. You have a lot of fun in the country.
Yeah. Now, what about siblings? Have you got siblings?
Yes, I have an older sister and an older brother.
Okay. All right. And did you guys get along well when you were growing up?
Well, we're all 8 years apart, so all of us really had a chance to be an only child, once in our lives. Mainly me. I had a lot of time to be an only child, so we don't really fight that much because of the space in between us. We get along really good. My brother, he's my best friend, and my sister's also, we're the same person. So, we're very, very, very close with each other. So.
Yeah, yeah. And so you lived all of your years in Cairo. You never lived any place different, right?
Same house my whole life.
Okay. And your mom still lives in Cairo?
Yes, she does.
Okay. All right. And she works for the school system?
Yeah, she's the assistant superintendent.
Okay. All right. Well, she's had to work with some challenges through COVID, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has, but she's still working really hard. She still gets up, goes to work every day, and she's doing really good. So, and she hasn't gotten the corona yet. So,
yay! That's always good.
Yeah.
So, when you look back at life growing up in Cairo, what were some just monumental things that happened in your growing up years?
I think some like great things that happened growing up was just learning the importance of like family in Cairo, since we're already a really small town. I just learned the importance of like being there for my siblings and being there with my siblings, and me and my mom, we're literally like best friends. Like we tell each other everything, and anytime something happens, we're the first person that we go to. So growing up in a small town has just taught me the importance of being close, because I wasn't really distracted by other things, like big things that you would probably see in a big city. I was just always home with my mom and always hanging out with her and doing things with her, and that was a great lesson that I've learned growing.
Yeah. And you guys had to overcome some hardships.
Yeah, my dad passed away when I was 6 years old to cancer.
And do you remember being told that your dad was sick?
My mom never really told me. I just kind of knew that he was walking with a cane. It was really hard for him to get around, and he was very weak, and I remember him having to go to the doctor a lot, my mom taking him to go to chemo and everything, and I just kind of knew, like, okay, like, your dad's sick, but it was never a time where my mom, like, sat me down and told me that he was sick, because she didn't want me to, like, look at him any differently or think there was something wrong with him and, be scared, because, at a young age, little girls can be scared of stuff like that, and she didn't want that to happen to me.
Yeah. And so you were able to just go to school as a normal little girl would do and have a pretty normal life, even though he was sick for a period of how many years?
He was sick for about 3 years. Yeah, I was always the first one home because I live right across the street from my elementary school, and I'd always be the first one home, and he would be home, so that would just be our time to spend with each other, and I'd always run in his room, and he'd be in the bed, and I'd just, lay with him for a little bit, and we spent a lot of time, when he was sick, so that was good.
Yeah, that's really special, and good memories for you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about a trip that you guys took, and I know when you have somebody in your family and they're sick and they're going through something really difficult, it's nice to just get away.
Yeah.
And so you guys decided you were going to take just a trip somewhere, and what ended up happening when you guys took off on that trip?
We were going to North Carolina to go to the mountains, and we kind of knew it was going to be my last vacation with my dad, but, we were hoping for the best, but in the back of our heads, we knew it was probably going to be the last one. So we wanted to take 2 weeks and go up there, and on the way there, we got in a really bad car wreck, and we ran off the interstate. We went through 3 lanes and went off the interstate, and we hit an oak tree head on, and my dad, he was supposed to fly through the windshield because he wasn't able to wear a seatbelt because he had, he had a liver transplant, so he couldn't wear a seatbelt, and he was going to fly through the windshield, but my mom's ancient Dell laptop was in the trunk, and it flew over my head, and it hit my dad in the face and knocked him back into his seat, and that's what saved his life.
Man, I can't imagine how frightening that must have been to have been a little girl, car careening across the median and not knowing where you were going to land, but everybody was able to walk away or maybe be carried off in a stretcher, but checked out, and everybody ended up being okay.
Yeah, my brother, he went and he got my mom first, and then he came, got me, and then he went and he got my dad. And the whole time he had severely bruised ribs. Like, they thought that they were broken, but my brother was able to get all of us out of the car because they were scared that the car was going to explode and catch on fire. So he was able to get us out safely.
Now, were you guys able to, after you got checked out at the hospital and figured out that everybody was fine and could move forward? Were you guys still able to have that last vacation together?
Yes, we were. We got a rental car, and I remember this like it was yesterday. We were at the gas station, and my mom told my brother to take me inside to the bathroom, and I was crying. I was like, I do not want to go on this trip. Like, I just want to go home. And my brother was like, Iris, stop saying that. We're going on the trip. Now stop crying so that they don't change their mind. And I stopped, and I'm really glad that I did because I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so how much time elapsed after that trip before he passed away?
The trip was in July, and he passed away in October.
And he was at home when he passed away, so he was able to be at home and comfortable. And
yeah, he was at home. After he had the liver transplant, they said there was no more cancer in his body, and we were really excited. We were really happy, and he went back, and it was in his spine, so there was nothing that they could do at that point. So they just gave us like a couple months, and my dad said he didn't want to do the treatment anymore. He was just over it.
He'd been through a lot.
Yeah, and he was just ready to be at rest and at ease of all that pain that he was going through. So he just stayed home, and and he passed away at home.
And did your mom go back to work a couple of months after that, or did she get right back into a routine and get you kids back into a routine, or do you remember?
Yeah, she did a great job getting us back to normal and getting us back to a normal life. She went straight back to work, and within a year, maybe, she was offered the assistant principalship at Carroll High School, and that's what started her getting assistant principal at Washington, and then principal, and now she's assistant superintendent. So, yeah, about a year after that was when she got that offer. So if she wouldn't have went back to work, then she would have never gotten the opportunities that she's gotten now.
Do you think it's important for little kids who are going through something difficult to get back into a routine as soon as they can?
Yeah, it's the best thing, but honestly, I feel like I tried to get back to normal too fast. Instead of taking the time and completely understanding what happened and completely, getting all of my emotions out and doing that, I wanted to be back normal as soon as I could, and I just kind of rushed back in and just kind of forgot about everything, because I wanted to be normal again. I didn't want to sit and sulk and be sad, and I feel like I did it too early, and it caught back up with me, a couple of years later, and I would just be sad, and I'm like, dang, I've never been like this before. I've never just cried about, my dad before like this, and I just thought about it. It was all those years of me bottling that up and not letting it out. Mm-hmm. That's what it came from.
Almost like a delayed grief.
Yeah.
And when you were growing up, were there certain times when you would really miss your dad?
Definitely this year has been one of the hardest years. My family really, really stepped in for me to help me out. Like my uncle took me to the father and daughter dance the first year, and then my brother was able to take me all the rest of the years, and my mom showed up to Donuts for Dads, for me. So they jumped in really fast to not to make me feel like I wasn't really missing out, but now that I've graduated and went to college and, had my college move-in day and him not being there, it's just been really, really hard for me, knowing that he's not there, he's not going to be there to walk me down the aisle. I'm kind of coming face to face with everything, and I never thought that I would be going through that my senior year, but that was when it really hit me.
Yeah, I know. When you guys do your senior dances, that always hits me because I always get so sad thinking that if somebody has lost a parent, that parent's not there to watch that last dance, because we participated in that with you, and I can just remember those times being really touching, or coming off the stage after just doing a great dance, and I'm thinking that you just know in the back of your mind that parent's not there physically to see you.
I have two really good dance stories to tell you.
Please do.
Dad. The first one is my very first year of dance. My dad was like, oh no, like don't put her in dance. Like she's going to be a softball player. And I was not having it with softball. I was like, I'm not doing that, Daddy. So Mom put me in anyways, and my dad went to my first recital, and at the end of the dance, all of the little girls shuffled off one side of the stage, and when you look up, all you see is one girl going off the wrong side, and it was me. And my dad said, look, Iris is the only one that's doing it right, trying to like, tell me how good I was and stuff. She was like, you were the only one who did it right, Iris, trying to make me feel better because I went off the wrong side of the stage. That was the first story. And also the year that my dad passed away, Miss Dana was going to do a father and daughter dance, when the dads come on stage with the daughters and stuff. And I remember like my dad not being able to come to the practices because he was sick, and then he ended up passing away that year. So she redid everything in the dance and ended up dedicating it to my dad, and she dedicated the recital to my dad that year. And they came on stage and gave me flowers, and I watched that video a couple weeks ago, and I just like bawled because you can tell like in the video I didn't know why they were giving me flowers. I didn't know why they gave me a standing ovation. It didn't really click to me why they were doing that, and now I'm like, oh, Miss Dana was so amazing for doing that for me back then. So yeah,
that's really sweet. Now, after your dad died, I remember you telling me that there was another incident that happened in your family, and that was really hard to take too. So tell me about that.
3 months later, my mom's mom passed away, also to cancer. And by the time that we knew that she had it, there was nothing that we could do to stop it, and it just came so fast. And yeah, she passed away in January.
That's such a short period of time, 3 months.
Yeah. It was really hard, honestly. Like, I still tell my mom to this day, I don't know how you did it. Like, I don't know how you were able to do that. And she says it was by the grace of God that she's able to be who she is today after all that happened.
Have you ever found yourself being mad at God for what happened?
At first, because my dad was a preacher. Like, he was a really great person, and I was just like, why did someone so amazing, have to go through everything that he did? But, as I got older, I just realized, like, my dad was, like, I've never seen someone so at peace on their deathbed in my entire life, and he was at peace because he knew that he lived his life, and he lived a great life, and he lived his legacy, and he left behind so many amazing things, and he's helped so many people. And like, he wasn't scared, he was so relaxed. And that's why I just let all of that go, all of that doubt and all that anger go, because seeing my dad, like, I just saw how okay he was with the whole thing, and it made me feel better.
That gave you peace.
Yeah.
If you were sitting down with a little girl who had just lost her dad at 6 years old, what kind of advice would you give that little girl?
I would tell her that it's okay to cry. Because when I was younger, when I would cry, since I was the baby, when I would cry, my mom would start crying. And when I would cry, my brother would start crying. And I would feel so bad that I just stopped. I just stopped crying, and I just bottled it all up, and I wouldn't let those emotions out. But like I said, it caught back up with me later on in my life. All those emotions just started coming out when I'd be in my college dorm room just crying, and I'm like, what is going on? And it was just all that grief that I just never faced, as a kid. I was facing it, at an older age. So I would tell that little girl, like, it's okay, get those emotions out, cry it out, understand what's going on, and don't feel bad that you have to get that out. It's okay to cry. And I would tell her that she's beautiful, because, a dad always makes a little girl feel beautiful and always makes her feel like a princess. And it's hard growing up not having someone there like your dad to tell you, like, hey, like, you're beautiful. Like, you don't need anybody to tell you that you're beautiful. Just know that you're beautiful. So I would tell her that.
Now, what about dates who would come over to the house? Would your mom sit down with your dates like a dad would do and say, okay, Iris's curfew is 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever, and I expect her to be home by that time? Or
Yeah, she definitely did. I remember the first time I ever brought a guy over, they sat on the porch and talked for 2 hours.
so your date ended up spending time with your mom.
And I was just pacing back and forth in the house like, what is she saying? Like, I'm so scared. But yeah, she always has the best intentions for me, so she got them straight on the first day, so that was good.
That's good, definitely. So throughout those years, your growing up years, and I know you're 19 years old, but are there times that you can look back on and you just felt like God was with you, He was carrying you, He was encouraging you? Sometimes that's hard for people to understand because we can't actually touch God and feel Him or hear Him audibly, but can you look back at times in your life and you just know that God was with you?
Yeah, in my early years of high school, and I don't talk about this a lot, but in my early years of high school, I was very depressed, and I was borderline anorexic at the time. I was extremely skinny, and it was because I wasn't eating and I wasn't taking care of myself because I was so sad. And I just remember thinking, like, there's no light at the end of this tunnel. Like, I'm gonna feel like this forever. Like, I just want to be happy. And I know God stuck with me through the whole thing. Like, I know I would not be able to be here and be like the smiley, excited girl that I am now if it wasn't for God staying with me through that whole thing. Because, going through something like that at a young age is scary. And a lot of these kids don't know how to handle it,
Right.
So they think that they're alone and that they don't have, anyone to talk to. But I knew I wasn't alone. I knew I had God with me, and I knew that I was going to get through it, and I did. I got through it, and I'm so much happier now, and I'm so much better, and I'm a good weight, now. And, I just hope that I'm a good role model for girls out there, that are so worried about their body image. And for a long time, I felt like I wasn't being a good role model because girls would look at me and say that they wanted to look like me, and I was dangerously underweight. And it was really bad. And now that I'm healthy, like, I just hope that I'm showing them what you're supposed to look like. Skinny isn't always the best, and just I'm going to, like, tell everybody just the power of God. And, I'm not too young to go through something like that.
Right.
Everybody goes through things, and sometimes people think they're too young to experience things like that, but you're not. You're going to go through things, and God is there for you.
A lot of teenagers, I think, experience that, and that's one of those things it's kept in the closet. People don't talk about it, and so I really appreciate you bringing that out because I'm hoping that some young people who may be battling that same thing can hear you. What kind of advice would you give a young person who is struggling with an eating disorder?
I would just tell them that just be happy in your own body, and you don't have to be skinny to be happy. Be happy with who you are, and don't start eating habits because they turn into eating disorders very fast. If you want to change how you're eating, change the way that you eat instead of how much you eat.
What kind of things can a parent look for if they suspect that their child may have an eating disorder?
Just watch what they're eating, watch how much they're eating, if they're not finishing their food or skipping out on certain meals. Also watch if they're starting to weigh themselves a lot or look in the mirror a lot more. Those are just things to pay attention to, and if you notice it, always bring it to light and have a conversation about it because it'll just help you better understand what's going on in your child's life.
And what does the future hold for you?
I am finishing up my sophomore year at University of West Georgia. I'm majoring in mass communications and minoring in psychology, and I hope to go straight back to school and get my master's right after and move to the Atlanta area to start my career. And my end goal is to be a TV host, talk show host. That's my dream.
Well, you've done a great job today, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
If you would like to learn more information, you can go on our website at revealedpodcast.org. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and we would love to pray for you. You can contact me at Angie@revealedpodcast.org.